Hi, Lloyd.
Hello, mate.
How you doing? You all right?
Not too bad, not too bad. We're making the best of it, shall we say.
I think that's all one can do.
Indeed. We're all trapped indoors. We'd best get used to it.
Yeah. But whilst we're trapped indoors, we get to talk about the times that we spent outdoors, which is kind of why we're here today.
Indeed.
Pardon. So, first things first, let me introduce you to those who don't know. Lloyd has a YouTube channel. Tell us about your YouTube channel, Lloyd.
Oh, so, my YouTube channel, I started it 3 years ago now. Basically, doing gun reviews. I had done some archery content on my channel, just messing about when I was an archer, and I had seen a blog post from John Henry, the guy who runs Isle Shooting Grounds, asking for contributions for their social media, and I'd sort of strolled in the gun room and said, well, look, I've got this daft little YouTube channel. It's got like 100 subscribers. Do you want to? Shall we maybe try doing gun reviews? And I've been shooting in various forms since I was 14, so I've got a lot of history with this stuff. And photography and videography was always a bit of a hobby, and it just sort of came together. And I started doing gun reviews, and over time, the channel has developed. I've got now relationships with some of the manufacturers, and it's becoming easier to get hold of stuff. But most of what I do is secondhand stuff that comes in the shop. Although, like I said, nowadays it's getting easier. I can actually now reach out to the likes of GMK, Ruag, Browning Europe, etc., and I can get stuff sent to me to test and review. And that's what I've been doing. It's like I said, it's been going 3 years. There's over 100 episodes. It's a wealth.
Some particularly good ones, actually. Some particularly good ones. I like your factory tour ones. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
Probably my favourite ones, actually.
Yeah, the Baretta trip I've done a couple of times. Once there's a video on the Bible channel, which is something that's scripted that we did with John, and then mine was a bit more freeform when I went over there to get my Baretta done. And yeah, I've enjoyed doing it. It's something creative. It's a creative outlet for me. It's not my day job. I have a day job. But it allows me to do something fun, which I've enjoyed, and it's certainly growing. I mean, we're up to 7,000 subscribers now, which is small beer in the YouTube world, but they seem to enjoy it, and
it's great content. It really is great.
I'm painfully honest about guns, as you are. I'm not owned or bought or paid for by anybody, so I do say what I think.
Which is, I think, has great value, but I think a lot of manufacturers disagree.
Yeah.
But hey, you got to be honest to yourself, whereas your opinion is completely valueless, and I think that's a really good aspect about yourself more than anything. I really like it. So, on that note, what are the favourite guns you have reviewed, and then more importantly, what guns do you own?
All right, so guns I own. So I'm going to be doing a review on it very soon. I've got an old Remy 1100 that I picked up for 200 quid that's been sat in the cabinet. It's a bit too short for me, but it was my dream gun when I was 14.
Yeah.
The reason I bought it was because I wanted a gun when I was 14, and they're a bit of an old workhorse. I refurbed it a little bit, put some new springs in and pistons and blah, blah, blah. And it just sits there. To be honest, it gets used as a coaching gun as much as out because it's a bit short for me, but it's quite soft. And it's a nice gun to shoot. So I've got that. I've got an M2 that I use for pigeons and ducks and whatnot.
Just a Comfortech 28-inch.
It's just a bum basic. It's not the Comfortech. It's the absolute bum basic M2, essentially. Yeah. 28-inch. No bells and whistles. That's just. I like Benelli's. I like the smallness of the fore end. I think they've got a really nice shape of the fore end because of the lack of a gas system, and the fact that it's an inertia gun. The recoil on it is really honest. I just find that there's no commotion like you get with a gas gun, and it's just a nice little gun to shoot.
Yeah, I mean, best guns in the world. Best guns in the world. Yeah. Well, best semi-autos in the world. And I wouldn't say necessarily for clay shooting, but as a gun, semi-automatic, they are unbelievably good.
Yeah.
They take abuse that no other gun would take, really.
Yeah. I really wanted a Raffaello, but to be honest, I can't justify the expense for what it gets used.
What do you go for? Powerball?
Just the Raffaello with a ported barrel. They're just I think they're quite pretty. They're and you get the extra bells and whistles so you can stick the comb razor in, a few other bits and bobs. But You know, it was extra difference.
£100. It's another 800 quid or something, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But what I use it for, it just wasn't necessary. I've got a Browning, which I bought fairly recently, the Ultra XS. Picked that up second hand. I got it to review. I liked it that much. I just thought, you know what, this is an absolute cracker. I'm having this. It was just right place, right time. And that's my kind of wet gun. And the reason I've got a wet gun is because my main toy is my Baretta. I've got a high-tech 32-inch, which I had made in Italy, which if you go take a look at the channel, there's a video of me getting that done. And that doesn't get taken out when it's wet.
No.
Barettas are soft, right? They are not made. There's no chroming in the bores. You know what I mean? They're an Italian gun, and they need to be kept clean and pristine, so that doesn't go out in the wet. But as guns go, I mean, I'm going to be doing a review fairly soon on it again because I'm limited to what I can do because I'm stuck in the house. So I'm going to be doing the Baretta, I'm going to be doing the M2, I'm going to be doing the Remy because that's all I've got. So, but yeah, that thing is just the way I would describe it now that I've had a good bit of time to get used to it, which is why there's been such a big gap because everybody's been asking me, oh, when you're reviewing it, and it's like, well, look, I wanted to get the new gun syndrome out of the way because every new gun's the best gun. I wanted to have a long time with it, where I'd had really long time to shoot it, get to know it, and I could make a genuine appraisal of it. And as it's like, you know, a really comfy pair of jeans that you've had for years that are a bit raggy and like your wife doesn't like you wearing them, but like a dead comfy one. It's like that, but it's like that right out the box. It was one of those things. As soon as I picked it up and started shooting with it, and it just fits. It's just instantaneous.
Well, you needed to because it was custom built for you. If you'd be really
Exactly.
it didn't just fit, right?
Yes, exactly. But there's so many little things that I time on in the factory, getting the grip shape right, and just daft things that I wanted to be bang on, and just are. It's a gun I can just pick up and just make it do what I want, and it's great.
That is what we like to hear. So,
I got the Krieghoff.
Why did you go for a high tech? Why did you go for a high tech?
It's the best selling Baretta now, and I'm very fortunate in that I've actually been able to test, and therefore I've shot nearly everything in the Baretta range except the really high rib trap guns.
2003 or
2005 and above. I've shot a 2K3. Anything above, I haven't as yet had a chance to play with. But I've shot everything in the range.
But they're not nice. They're just not rounded.
Well, they're a trap gun.
Yeah.
It's an out-and-out OT. You know what I mean? It's what it's for, and I shoot everything. My main discipline that I shoot is all round. So it's skeet, trap, DTL. Skeet, DTL, ABT, and sporting. I also like sporting and sport trap. I'm not big into trap disciplines. I'll shoot them as part of all round, but I couldn't shoot 100 DTL or 100 ABT. I would do me kit or I would just be bored. And the reason I went for the high tech was I just prefer the balance. So it's about 40 grams heavier in the action. You've got the reverse taper rib. I find it just balances better. It's a more deliberate gun to shoot than the MX series. The MX is very, very nimble, very whippy. It's more like a parkour than a super sport, if I use a Krieghoff term. And just the HT was what I wanted. I wanted a gun that was a wee bit lighter than my Krieghoff, because the 9-pound Krieghoff, some days when you're just a bit, and you just can't drive it as hard as you want to, and you get stuff. And
you need to be on point all the time.
Exactly. I'm not Ben Hustwaite. I am not built like a bloody rugby player. You know what I mean? Some days I have off days, and I just wanted something a wee bit lighter.
I bit my tongue there. I was about to say something nasty, but didn't.
So I just wanted something that was a bit more nimble and a bit prettier. To be honest, I think the Baretta is just such an elegant, classic-looking thing.
They are so beautiful. They really are.
Yeah, the Krieghoff, I really appreciate the engineering. It's such an absolute Teutonic tank of a gun, but it's not very pretty. I mean, you can get pretty ones, but they're still.
Yeah, when you've got 90 grand. Yeah.
Exactly. The bum basic one I had is the dead basic scroll with a black top latch and all the rest of it, and it was a cracking gun, but. And that's the reason I got rid of it is you can't really be a slave to two masters. I've got to have one gun that's my main gun, and that's what I'm good with. So I made the jump. I was very nervous for a while there, but I think it's absolutely cracking. I love my high tech.
Nice. How many rounds you put it through it now?
Good lord. So I've had it since November, and on average I shoot 1,000 a month. So however many that is.
Enough.
Yeah.
1,000 less than you should have.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, 'cause I've been out for 3 weeks, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, all of that doesn't go through the high tech because obviously I do a lot of test guns and da-da-da-da, but it's had a run out. Like, it's definitely, I'm used to it now, and there's nothing I don't know about it in terms of handling and stuff. So yeah.
What ammo do you use?
Sorry.
What is your ammo of preference?
Generally, Hall, I tend to stick to super fast for majority, probably 80% of my shooting because I can't fall off with 184 pound 1,000, given the volume I shoot. I pay for my ammo, I pay for my clays. I don't get any freebies. Well, okay, so I do sometimes get freebies from Hull. They support the channel, so when I ask them for test ammo, they will send it me. But last year I probably had a couple of thou off them. Everything else I pay full price for. So I'm buying the best value ammo I can, which to me is super fast. And for competitions, it'll be either Pro 1 or Parkour for really long targets. But I've found I can break 90% of what I shoot at with super fast or Pro 1. I
think super fast are actually a really genuinely cracking cartridge. You on their fibre or plastic?
Plastic.
Yeah, plastic. I think that both that and the Kent Velocity plastic, they're very, very similar, but they are both, in the fibres, very average, but in the plastics, very, very competitive indeed. Very competitive.
If I was shooting more trap disciplines, I'd probably shoot Sporting Hundreds or the DTLs because they're a bit softer. And I think with trap, because you're so hard into the gun, you need a bit softer cartridge. And to be honest, speed doesn't really matter because it's going away target, isn't it? So,
yeah.
Yeah, the Sporting Hundreds are nice. The initial ones had a little bit of problem with the paint. They're like a luminescent green paint on them, and it just came off and went all over your gun. But they fixed that now.
Yeah, silver cartridge, aren't they? I think
it's the same hull as the Partridge cartridge, so it's like semi-transparent with the like black wash.
Yeah. It makes it look all rotten. It's cool though.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah,
did you do a bit of game as well.
Yes, yeah. I didn't have a day this year. I had a few days out on the pond with my mate who's got a pond on some ducks. But I didn't have a game day this year. I had a couple of invites. I was working away. I was abroad. I couldn't make it. But last year I had a few days. And yeah, I enjoy it. Prior to getting the Browning, the F16 was my game gun. Now the Browning's probably going to be my game gun. Yeah, I mean, I might take the Baretta out. It'll depend if I get any days this year.
Well, we'll see if there is any days this year. Yeah, I suppose more than anything. Before I suppose we move on to anything else. What are your thoughts on the whole lead and steel debate? Sorry, let me shout at my dogs. Tank! Yeah. Like 101 Dalmatians around here. Everyone's around their garden because everyone's at home. So all the dogs are communicating around the neighbourhood. What are your thoughts on the lead and steel debate?
So, it's a queer one, isn't it? Obviously, lead is a toxic material, right? There is no safe amount of lead that a human can ingest, right? That's been stated. It's scientific fact. However, like me, you've probably been eating game meat for a long time that's been shot with lead. I'm not dead yet. Is lead more effective at killing? Yes. Is it more effective at breaking clays? Yes. Are there wider tolerances shooting lead than there are with steel? Yes. There's a bunch of reasons why lead is better. But if the industry is going to move in the way of going to non-toxic shot, we are where we are. I mean, we'll work around it. We will shoot lower birds. I'm not into shooting stuff that's skyscraper high, like your Dave Carries of the world and that. I'm not bothered. I mean, as long as it's a sporting shot and not daft. If I think I'm going to get a clean kill, I'll take the shot. You know what I mean? It's that simple. We'll just have to recalibrate around that.
It's a large change, I think, where we've currently been developing for higher and higher birds to then have that road cut.
Sure.
I think it's difficult for people to process more than anything.
But isn't that just mainly an English thing, though?
Oh, utterly. Yeah, I mean, you think somewhere like Scandinavia, they have a 30-metre maximum.
Yeah.
Scandinavia, which to me seems logical, obviously, because everyone's going to flaunt that by 5 or 10 meters. So
Yeah.
40 meters is a damn, I mean, it's guaranteed clean kill, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not for me to put my opinion out at this point, obviously, but I do feel like you say about there being no lower tolerances for adults, and I would agree with that, that I personally am not bothered about eating lead chalk game. Like, the amounts that I consume are so minimal, I don't think it makes a difference. Whereas I won't feed it to my kid.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of science out there that does state that it affects the developing brain like exponentially more than it will a full-grown adult, and a pregnant lady, obviously, with a developing brain growing inside her, in that same category. And there was an amazing study done in New Zealand that I read that is all to do with lead intake and blood lead levels versus your social standing and IQ drop in later life, that was done categorically, that everybody who had more lead in their system lost more IQ and was less successful in life. I know a lot of people won't care about that, but I would like the best for my kid. And I
Absolutely,
that's as much as I can say on that, really, and everyone should. I also believe in free choice, though, and this is the difficulty. I also believe in free choice, and it would be nice if there was left open, not loopholes, but areas in which lead could be used.
Yes. Yeah. I think a lot of the pushback has been around the way that Basket kind of did their announcement, which was a bit of a like, bah! And it was a real surprise. I think they lost a lot of support in out there, and I don't know. I just think there was never going to be a good way to do it. And I kind of
there would have been a better way of doing it potentially.
Yeah.
I spoke to Dan Reynolds from Basque, and after speaking to him, I realised that they didn't even mean to say what they said in, it wasn't even the way that they said it that was wrong, even though it was wrong. It was literally what they said was nothing near what he was saying that they wanted to convey.
Yeah.
So, hey, I'm talking about it.
Do you think that's true, though? Or do you think that's maybe, in hindsight, a little bit of softening the message?
See, I'm in two minds about that. My first part is that out of all Basque employees, and I know very few in the grand scheme of things, but I am aware of certain people's opinions on them. I think Dan is about the best of the lot. He is a regular shooting man from a regular shooting background, and he genuinely loves shooting and loves wildlife. And as such, I feel like his opinion is something that I can trust, and his word is something that I can trust. So that's my first point, is I trust Dan, because I think you have to trust people, or at least you can trust people. And if you can't trust people, then the world's a really sad place. And this is looking at, in hindsight, he probably said, oh shit, we said it wrong.
Yeah. And
perhaps this would have been a better message, but that was probably the message they should have put out in the first place. But hey, we're not, I don't know, there's nothing they can do about it now, right?
Yeah.
There's so much bigger fish to fry. Maybe that's one of the conspiracies. Maybe Basque caused coronavirus to hide fish, to hide their cock up.
Yeah, I think it's all kind of faded into the background now because let's face it, there's nobody shooting at the minute.
No.
Yeah.
That's it. Do you do any other rifle sports or anything like that?
So I not recently. I have been thinking about getting my ticket back on again. I started out when I was 14. Started out with clay pigeon shooting through till when I was 18. As soon as I was 18, I applied for my firearm certificate, and then I did pistol shooting. I love pistol shooting. It's a real. I miss it every day, to be honest. If I was still pistol shooting, I wouldn't be doing clay shooting at all. I was right into it. I used to do police pistol, service pistol, IPSC, and then after '97, I was the club armourer at the time, and it was handing over my guns was awful. And I tried pistol caliber carbines, I tried black powder, I tried a few different sort of bridge stuff, and then that was when I tried rifles. And I found paper punching pretty dull with a rifle, because it's basically maths. You're shooting off a rest or whatever. Yes, nowadays there are a lot more rifle-based disciplines where you can get a bit more active, and it's a bit more closer to what would have been the pistol disciplines, where you're actually forced to shoot offhand, etc. But at the time, it was mainly just pit punching with off a rest or whatever, and I just found that incredibly dull. So, can I shoot a rifle? Yes. I was out shooting with a mate of mine the other day, funnily enough, having a bit of clink. This is going back a few weeks, obviously, with one of his rifles, and he was, he saw so many groups. He was like, "Well, you're pretty good at this." I was like, "Yeah, I can shoot a rifle, I just don't." So yeah, I know a fair bit about ballistics. I used to home load in great volumes when I was pistol shooting, because I was a teenager and I lived in the middle of nowhere. I had nothing else to do, so I used to just sit on the press all night, knocking out my own ammo. But yeah, it's been a while.
It didn't tempt you to do that for a shotgun as well?
I don't think it's economically viable for clay shooting. It's smashing if you want to do.
It's something to do.
Yeah, it's smashing if you want to do specialty loads, sub gauge, anything sort of 16, 20s, 410s, etc. But at 12 gauge, it's cheaper to buy it off the shelf.
Yeah, and to be fair, they're so good what you can get now, unless you want to make like some kind of mixed shot, or perhaps tungsten and bismuth, or break CIP rules and make some amazing steel cartridges that are actually capable of killing mega long stuff. Then yeah, you're right. It's not viable financially, but it is entertaining for an afternoon if you've got nothing better to do, like we do.
I used to quite enjoy it because you can sit around and mess around with your loads and your powders and primers and things like that. It is quite interesting. I used to actually dig loading at 38, 45, 9mm, etc. So, you know, there's even more mess about with rifle cartridges you can do. So much you can fine tune with rifle cartridges if you want to go for ultimate accuracy and really hone your loads.
Right. So, two questions, and the first is, would you like pistols back in the UK? Do you think we should be allowed pistols back in the UK?
Now this is the thing. So yes, I would love it. Right, I absolutely would love to have pistols back in the UK. But could I stand in front of somebody who lost a child at Dunblane and say, "Is the chance that this could happen again for you worth me having my guns back for sport?" I'm not sure I got the balls to ask that question. Do you know what I mean? Do I think it was an overreaction? Yes. Do I think it's had an overall impact on gun violence? No, because illegal guns are still there. Yeah. But I think I'm just not sure we'll ever get it back. I just can't see it.
I would say there's no real. I don't think it is something that is realistic in modern UK or current time UK.
Weirdly though, Northern Ireland still have pistols.
Yeah.
Isle of Man,
Jersey.
Isle of Man, Jersey. Yeah. All of which somehow managed to evade the rule. So I do have mates that actually go out to various wee islands and that, and are members of gun clubs out there. I just can't justify the time.
Yeah, it's a big dedication, isn't it?
Whenever I go to the States, I always get as much range time as I can afford. I was out in October time and spent a day in a range out there just playing. Had to go with the SIG P320, which is something I really wanted to play with. That's the new M13 US Army service pistol. What a sweet tool that is. And yeah, I still enjoy it. I'm still pretty handy with a pistol. It comes back when you get behind the trigger, but yeah, I do miss it.
All right. And the second question is, what are Lloyd's sweet tips to A, being a better clay shot, and B, choosing a gun for that?
So for me, I always say to people ask me, what cartridges should I shoot? What choke should I use? All the daft questions you get about the accessories and that. And for me, the cheapest, stop worrying about your chokes and just get out and shoot. So if you buy the cheapest cartridges you can like find locally and spend more time at the range than buying an expensive cartridge like a Black.
There is a caveat to that there is some really, truly crap cheap cartridges out there.
Yeah, I'm not about buying stuff
like Prima Unos that are 1,200 feet per second, for example, are not gonna be a great place to start. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but like a reasonably cheap cartridge, like a Super 5.
Yeah, right? 160 odd pound a thousand.
Exactly, right? And just spend more time at range, get some shooting in, get some lessons with a proper coach. Unfortunately, clay shooting is full of people with opinions, and every gun club you go to, there's always some old boy in the background who's stood behind you telling you you're behind that, and just ignore all of that crap. Don't worry about people watching you, right? Nobody cares. There's so many newbies get like caught up with like, oh, I'm crap and I can't. And no, just ignore that. Go and get some lessons with a decent accredited coach, and just stick to the fundamentals. Learn your techniques, learn your sort of break points and your kill points and your pick up points and all that kind of stuff, and just practice. There's not magic. The more you do it, the better you'll be. And don't listen to every sage that tells you, oh, you want to put 1/2 and 3/4 in or whatever. You know what I mean? Just don't worry about chokes. Don't worry about accessories. Get a gun that fits you, right? And that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter what it is. Buy a gun you love. Buy a gun that fits and shoot one gun. Didn't buy 12.
Well, you can buy 12.
Yeah.
But over time.
Yeah. And
I think I think that's a good mantra if you want to be good.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. It's a good mantra if you want to be good. Just buy one, stick to it, learn from it, and then adapt thereafter, right?
But the other valid thing is not everybody wants to be excellent. Some people will be happy to go out and shoot 50%.
A lot of people are happy with 50 to 70%.
You know what I mean? And their thing is they want to have all the guns and just be okay. And that's fine. You know what I mean?
Make lots of noise, have fun, have a bacon sandwich and a pint with their mates.
It's the best thing
to be honest, I admire those people probably more than the people who are overly competitive, because overly competitive people, as you'll probably be aware, lose the fun aspect so easily.
Completely agree. It's the best thing about shooting is even if you're crap, you still make a loud noise, right? And you still got a gun in you.
It should still be enjoyable, regardless of if you're hitting or missing. Although I think there is a point where if you're hitting perhaps less than 50% and you want to hit more and you can't hit more, then it's just frustrating. And it's at that point, like you say, find a decent, I wouldn't even say necessarily accredited, but a decent instructor who speaks your language, who has experience. You know, and I don't want to belittle anybody, perhaps who has just started, who wants to become an instructor, but you will be aware that you need to put some serious shells down range to at least have a vague understanding of how and why and that kind of thing. Maybe.
With all sports, right, and all sports are from this, archery is exactly the same. You can go and do the level 1 accredited instructor's course, and now all of a sudden you get to wear the badge and you are a coach, right? And you know absolutely jack all, A, about shooting, and B, about how to coach, right? It's all very well and good knowing which is the gun that's dangerous, is this loaded, right? That's totally different to having spent thousands and thousands of hours shooting and actually have practical experience of why and how stuff that works in different situations and for different people. Not every technique is the same. There is no cookie cutter approach. You can't stamp out shooters using this mount, that approach, that technique, because everybody's different. Everybody's different shape. Everybody thinks differently. They've all got different vision. There's so much out there, and you've really got to be able to appreciate that and be able to convey that to a human being.
That is unbelievably solid advice right there. That is unbelievably solid advice, and it's a great realistic truth. It's a great truth as well. That I think there's a second caveat to that, perhaps, that after you've learned all that for yourself, you also need to learn how to translate that to other people and make enough mistakes. And it's hard, isn't it? Because every instructor needs to start somewhere. But you need, I think, an instructor with a bit more experience, certainly from my perspective, helps. Like, I would rather somebody who has made their mistakes on someone else. I know that's bad, and those people cost a lot more money. But they're worth the money as well. Sorry.
Agreed.
Right. So, when it comes to choosing a gun, what is Lloyd's top tip?
As I said before, buy one you love. Like, shoot. Oftentimes, I get private messages all the time via Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, etc. Which is best, this or this? And I'm like, well, shoot both and buy the one you love. And it is that simple. If you love it, if you get behind it and you love it, and you don't want to change it, you are more likely to spend more time shooting it. You are more likely to put the hard yards in to get to the point where you can shoot it than something that you've just bought because somebody else told you to. Because some guy down the club said, get yourself a 686 or get yourself a 525. I'll get yourself a Miracle Mark 38 shotgun. And
You know it, mate. You know it. That is the ultimate gun to buy.
Well, it may be that a Miracle MK38 shotgun
is the right gun.
It's like a bloody, you know what I mean? And
but they're all good starting points as well. They're all good starting points.
Absolutely. Or an 88 or a Yieldit. And I think, to be honest, this year, maybe not so much this year, but maybe next year, once we've gotten around all this, I think that Pro Sport's going to make a big dent in the newbie sales, where you would have traditionally gone at 686, 525. I think now that Yieldits is that middle road.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, sort of from what you're seeing on the grounds, but certainly, and the fact that we're opposite ends of this country, around here, nobody new is buying into the Baretta or Browning market now. Everybody is buying a Turkish gun. Like, it is like nothing you would have ever believed would happen 10 years ago. But everybody's coming in and spending, certainly from the shop perspective, they're all going, oh, I'll buy an 88 because it's 600 quid and it will do me as a gun. And they are not bad.
No.
I think there's better out there for the money, but we're all different, like you say. That's the benefit experience. And I suppose, a bit like yourself, you have the guarantee of knowing people who can help if it does break. Whereas just having a warranty on a gun from a manufacturer is so much sweeter a deal for so many people.
Yes. I think when you look at the value proposition of something like that, as long as you walk into it eyes wide open, you spend 600 quid on a gun, you know that when you fetch it back in 6 months' time, you're going to get paid 150, 200 quid on it. You know what I mean? Realistically. And you accept that, and maybe that becomes your rough gun, that's the one that gets chewed by the dog, and you just leave it in your cabinet and you don't sell it. Then fine.
Absolutely. Or you keep it forever because 600 quid is still quite a large sum of money to many, many people for a tool for a hobby. I mean, that's the double-sided thing there. Is actually a way for so many more people to buy brand new quality guns for less than a paycheck.
Yes.
Which is where a lot of guns look like, depressingly, is they look like a lot more than a paycheck.
I think it's good that you said that, actually, because I think it's really easy once you've been in the trade, in the sport for a long time, the sort of entry-level stuff at 1,200 quid doesn't seem a lot of money anymore. But when you start shooting, how much? I don't even know if I like it yet. I don't want to spend 1,500 quid on something I've not tried. Like, you wouldn't go out and buy like a full set of like the world's best golf clubs. You know what I mean? You get them knacker ones from Argos.
Yes, to go and give it a go to see if you're actually into it for a bit before you realise that yes, I am, or no, this is the worst sport in the world. I'm going to take up shooting.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. I've always fancied golf, but
no,
it's a bit quiet.
No, I tried golf once. I got to hide out in the clubhouse because I wasn't wearing a collar, and that was me. Never going back. But yeah, going back to the what's the best gun? There isn't. Honestly, there's so many guns out there at different price points. They've all got goods and bad things. And yes, there's some guns I've given a pan in.
So what is the worst gun? What is the worst gun? Yeah, let's play that game.
Ooh. I think
we are 36 minutes into this, and those who will not like what you're about to say will not have watched this far.
That's a fair comment. It is the Fabom Axis RS12.
You really didn't like that?
I hated that gun. It just, everything about it. And everybody I gave it to went, like, the amount of it went, because just everything about it just felt wrong, right? The checkering, the shape of the pistol grip, the mount, the comb height, everything was just awkward. It just felt like, I don't know, it was like a gun made out of Lego. Everything went off the corners, and
I thought it was a great gun. I've shot a QRR one quite a few times, and I thought it was a really nice bit of kit. Like, for the money, for the spec, it's not the Guarini that it's sort of emulating, obviously, in the range. But I guess that's just the beauty of personal preference.
Absolutely, yeah. We've all got a personal preference. That, I think, was the one that I disliked the most. That was the one that I had the hardest time reviewing, because I always try and put at least a slab of shot through anything and everything. Whee!
Right, we've gone for a fool there.
Easy, Tiger.
I'm coming back. Hold on. Oh, this is embarrassing. There we go. We're here. Boom.
Hello. Yeah, I always try and put at least a slab of shells through anything that I test, and that was the gun that was hardest to, shall we say, maintain. I ever so didn't want to shoot that gun. It just horrible. What else did I hate? I hated the 725 Mark II.
Okay.
Not
The
just
SPS2.
Yes, purely because the stock was like it was like a log. And it's funny enough, when I interviewed David the other day, because obviously the new one's coming out, and they have slimmed down that stock, and they've slimmed down Instagram.
Which actually
feels like a gun a human can shoot now. And of course, the one that I probably got the most hate mail for was the 686 Silver Pigeon. I'm not a fan of it. I think the old ones are lovely. Right? I've actually bought older ones, and I've had older ones, and my wife had a 686. But the new ones are high volume, mass-produced guns, and I just don't think they're as nice as people think they are. Trigger pulls are crap. I think they suit a smaller subset of people because they're very, very thin. They're very little guns, in my opinion. A lot of people pick them up and they look like toys. And this is going to be super unpopular because a lot of people love the 686. But not my cup of tea. I would, if it were me, I think the Browning, the 525 Miracle is a more everyman gun, shall we say?
I mean, again, it's interesting how even the gun culture definitely changes across the country. Mm-hmm. But round here, certainly, we are Beretta territory.
Right.
Like, this is Beretta land, and everybody likes small, slim guns. And you try and put a Browning in someone's hands by comparison, most of the time they will go, it's big and deep and heavy, and it feels like, an oafish sort of thing. But I think that's very interesting dichotomy. But then it changes across country. I wouldn't say it's gradual at all. Every area is very different.
I went to Yorkshire. My missus was in one of these ladies shooting things. I can't remember what it's called, the Yorkshire Fillies, right? Yeah. And we went to this Yorkshire Fillies Day, and it was called the Fillies and Willies Day, so bring your husband sort of thing. And I was literally the only man on the ground who didn't have a Browning. All the women had them, all the blokes had them. My missus pulls her siren out, and it was like, hey, you've got a siren, what's that? Caesar Green, eh? And I pulled out my Krieg off. Jesus Christ. What's that you've got there? A posh one? Honestly, it was like... it was freaky. Everybody had Brownings. It was great.
Yeah. I guess it's... I don't know. It just goes to show that so much of gun buying actually is just contagious, psychosomatic community crap, which is great. Mm-hmm. But it just shows how deep that is in our heads to buy something that makes us belong, regardless of our friendship group or anything like that. I mean, I'm blessed with having a group of friends, and none of us would like each other's guns. I mean, we all shoot them, and we're all not assholes about it, but we all own our very own specific things, and we all like our own specific things. I think we probably only do that just to be particularly special. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's fascinating that you say that about Berettas. So I think the trigger pulls on a Beretta outdo a Browning out the factory. Not that saying.
Stuff. I think in the mid-range, Beretta have really pulled a rabbit out of the hat with the 694. I think they've perhaps taken that segment back with the 694. I think that's an absolute cracking gun. Prior to that, I think you couldn't walk past the 725 Pro Sport.
No, I do like 725 Pro Sport. That said, I only realised a couple of years ago that you could order that S2 with custom woodwork on it. I say custom woodwork is so you could order an adjustable with a beaver tail, you could order an adjustable with a little forend, you could order a non-adjustable with a beaver tail, and you could sort of spec it. You could make a baby Pro Sport, and actually, by doing that and putting the heavy trap stock and the heavy trap forend on an S2, it made it quite bearable. Whereas before, I would probably agree with you that it wasn't for me. And I would agree that a Silver Pigeon isn't for me in the way that it shoots, because ever since they dropped doing fixed chokes in their low-grade guns, I think that was a bad handling although they're not bad, they used to be something that you could pick up and it felt like a bit of a lightning bolt in your hand. You can get it where you want. And now, I wouldn't say it's a struggle, and this is the difficulty, isn't it? That actually, like you say, it's hard to remember what it was like at the beginning versus where you are now.
Yeah.
But one has to not be an arrogant twat sometimes, as we all know.
Yes.
And it's hard that actually at the beginning, all of those features that I now hate, which are prevalent perhaps in Silver Pigeon Sporter 30-inch multi-choke out the box, which just doesn't feel or shoot nicely. I took one to the Baretta Worlds, ended up throwing it in the bin after stand 5 and taking a DT11 off of Geordie, one of the guys who worked for GMK. And guess what? Suddenly, and it wasn't the gun fit because both were too short and all this kind of thing. It was the fact that that gun responded in a way that a more mature shooter would appreciate rather than a less mature shooter. Yeah. And that actually probably isn't the fact that it's a crap gun, but probably is the fact that it is just designed for a new shooter. It's designed not to be responsive and intuitive. It's designed so that somebody goes, oh, so there's my break point and there's my kill point. If I put the gun there, bang, break. As opposed to you or I who'd go, all right, stand in the stand, there, bang, smash.
Yeah.
Bang. Or maybe smash.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
That's. I do think the 686 is probably a better choice as a game gun, mind. With it being a bit lighter, a bit nimbler. I don't know. As a field gun, and certainly like the 687 EELL, I'm certainly not going to argue with that. You know, I think they're cracking.
Yeah, but they make them in a fixed choke, which suddenly makes it a really gorgeous gun.
That is a fair comment, yeah.
An absolutely gorgeous gun. So, good mate of mine, Ant, who's been on the channel a few times, he's got a 30-inch fixed choke EELL, and it is sexual. It's a beautiful gun. But he also, before that, had a 1996 686 Sporter, where they used to have that big back rib on and the black barrel. Beautiful gun. And that used to shoot very nicely. And I can't really explain why. Because there's not. I know you said that they're just off a production run now, but they were back then too.
Aye, true. I just think like if you look at the modern ones, like you pick up I actually think an Onyx would be a better gun because it's got less adornment on it and it's just got that engine turning on the outside.
Yeah.
I think the rolled engraving on the bum basic stuff just. Looks,
but the 2019 onwards models are all laser engraved.
Yeah, but to me, it's like you might as well just not bother. It's why I quite like the way that the Browning are going with just like the brush steel with a small lasered logo, and it just looks quite classy. And I think it works as a. Yeah,
I think maybe the age of lying about engraving is over.
Yeah.
That's it. I had a look at that classic, the EELL classic, and that's all now done on a 5-axis CNC laser engraver. Very cool. Not a patch on what it was because they used to be hand finished, and it kind of. I don't say it's a patch on what it was. It's very, very, very well done. But I would rather it was just a little 1 pence worth of high quality hand engraving on a completely plain action. And I think maybe again, it's not viable. Maybe we should start gun makers. Can I borrow a couple of £1 million?
Oh, hang on, yeah, I'll just. No, I've just checked. I've left my wallet downstairs. Sorry.
That's okay.
But I know I've actually toured Studio Bottega Giovanelli. I've actually got the footage. I've never cut it together and made it into a thing, which I really should do.
Obviously.
For the lack of B-roll, when I was there, I was so like starstruck. I was kind of getting all this footage of the guns, and I never shot any B-roll. Although I should be able to use some of the B-roll from Italy just to sort of hang it together.
I think people wouldn't care about B-roll just for the opportunity to see inside. It could be a low-produced film just to get to see the inside.
I've got standards. There was so much stuff there getting made. There was Caesars, there was Parazzi, there was Holland and Holland. There was a raft of stuff getting made at different price points, and he took me through all of the different processes that they do, and like the masters that are working on guns that are a work of like a year, 18 months, versus the stuff that spends 11 hours on a CNC mill or whatever, that comes out, gets a maybe 2 or 3 days worth of finishing work and some gold inlay and whatever out the door. But it was ever so interesting because he took us through all the different techniques they use. And looking at these kind of artisans that are working on this stuff, that apprentice for 5 years, and for the first 3 or 4 they're not allowed to touch a gun. All they do is just practice the hammer work, right, until they're like can not arse up a gun, right? Because you just practice on a bit of steel, then they move on to a gun, and they only work from 8 in the morning through till like lunchtime, because that's as long as they can do it for. Like physically, you're knackered and you can't concentrate on like tiny things for that any longer. So they work in the morning, in the afternoons they just go. But that was so interesting. And looking at this, there was a pair of Parazzis that had gotten done that I've actually seen since that had like not matching but complementing scenes of gladiators fighting lions. You might have seen.
I have seen those posted on their Parazzi Facebook. They are epic.
I saw them getting made, right? What a honestly, like there was two guys sitting next to each other with their own little workstations and that, and they were just working away at these and that with the hammer and with the pick where they're not even using the hammer because it's that fine. Epic, like. And then there was a guy working on a London Holland, and that was beautiful. And it was really nice. But it gives you an idea of the breadth and depth of the difference between what goes into a gun that costs £250,000, what goes into a gun that costs £5,000 or whatever, and how much extra effort that is. And I don't think people comprehend that. If that's perhaps uncharitable, but you know.
I'm with you that anything in that bracket is worth the extra time and effort. However, I have always been a proponent that just because something spends an extra hour on a CNC laser engraver doesn't mean that it's worth 3 times as much.
Agreed.
I had a little trouble with Rizzini for putting him in the 5 worst guns of the year because of that exact reason, that they were charging twice as much for something that was done on the same bloody machine. It just takes a few hours extra. Yeah. And it just seems unfair unless you are getting, like say, I'm not looking for 18 months worth of work for $5,000. I'm realistic that's $100,000 gun sort of territory. Exactly. But for the extra $2,000, I'd like 2 days work. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, in the knowledge that those 2 days work are unique and more importantly that they're not going to do more of them. It's more special. I don't know.
I know what you mean.
But when this is all over. I was going to say, when this is all over, we were supposed to be going out to Italy, but that's probably going to be cancelled now.
Oh, yeah, I think it'll be a while before that's safe, unfortunately. I'd just like to say, by the way, Mario, Fabrizio, I hope you guys are doing okay.
Yeah, they're watching. All their factories are shut down over there. It's going to very much impact what we get over here, and I expect price-wise it's going to impact what we have, because there's no reason that they wouldn't put up prices.
Yeah.
Because people still are wanting guns, so hopefully there's going to be a little gun buying boom after this, because people are trapped at home, bored out their skulls. But what will be interesting is, if you want it, my suggestion would be that it would be best to buy it as soon as the shop is reopened.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it could be a short-lived thing otherwise.
I think prices will definitely get whatever on the shelf stock is available and get them bought if you want one now.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough time. And it is a tough time for all those gun makers out there. And across the world, I think anyone with a factory is a bit bollocks, but obviously we're looking at our insular little shotgun section. Yeah,
exactly. It's a flea on a gnat's bum of the world economy, and and such a niche market. But it's a market that's important to us. So.
Yeah, indeed. Mate, thank you very, very much. I've enjoyed Lloyd's top tips more than anything. Lloyd's top tips were very handy and actually extremely sage. I think anybody watching should actually pay attention to those. And mate, thank you very much. And hopefully after all this has gone away, we'll hook up north or in the Midlands to you. You would probably call it. And go out and mash some clays.
Absolutely, love it.
Take care, mate.
Take care, man.